Thanks, Lindsay. Okay, Billy Genovese. He is the Director of Business Development with VerdeGo Landscape. It's a heart land company. He's been with VerdeGo for over 8 years, working across their Palm Coast, Daytona, and St. Augustine branches. His focus is on growing their commercial maintenance relationships and helping clients find practical, long-term solutions that perform well in the Northeast Florida climate. Billy spends a lot of time working directly with property managers and ownership groups to make sure that their landscapes not only look great, but are managed efficiently year round. Professionally, I have known Billy for almost a decade, I think probably. I've been able to work with him when I have worked with other management companies, and I have seen him at all the trade shows, and he's heavily involved in the industry. He's always such a knowledge. He has a wealth of information. We enjoy working with him. We're excited to have him as a presenter. And even though he focuses in the areas I mentioned, he probably has friends in other areas. So if you're looking for new representation or more bids, we'll make sure his contact information gets in the chat at the end. Billy, we'll have everyone ask questions at the end. Welcome to your first webinar Wednesday.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. One of my favorite lines is I don't have all the answers, but I know a lot of people that do. So
Love it. Love it.
I know this is just an ongoing thing. So well, yeah, thank you so much. Obviously, off the title, what we're going to talk about today is decision fatigue and HOAs. Um, Really kind of around landscaping, but hopefully you can take it, into other aspects that you guys are, experiencing. But really, I think the easiest way to kind of get started on that is, I think all of us, if you're sitting at home Friday night, Saturday night, you flip on Netflix and you just start looking at all those little boxes and you're clicking and you're clicking and you're clicking and 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by. Next thing you know, you're sitting at 20 minutes, you still haven't picked anything, and then you're just kind of rushing through it. You pick something you really don't like, and then you're sitting there for an hour and it wasn't anything that you really wanted to see. That's kind of what decision fatigue is. So, the definition of it is decision fatigue is simply mental exhaustion caused by making too many decisions over a period of time. So it's just having way more stuff than you need to. And we're going to kind of hopefully talk about condensing that a little bit and making it easier for you. The other little, example I have, and I always get to it, is you walk into the Cheesecake Factory and you open up that menu and it's just like everything that you could ever want for food. I don't know how one place serves all of it, but they do. And you're sitting there, and if you're like me, it's probably two or three times that the waiter or waitress has to come over to you and before you make it an idea. So that's the thing. I think the same thing happens with the boards when you're at your board meetings and you have decisions that are stacking up and the quality of those decisions start to, decline. When fatigue adds up, people tend to either rush decisions, avoid them, push them off to the next meeting, or really just defer them entirely. So it's really pushing, and that's kind of where the problems start to begin, in that deal. So. I don't know why it's not switching to the next slide. There
Sometimes
we go.
maybe, yep, you got it. Okay, we see it. You
There.
got it.
All right. There we go. So that's kind of the, introduction to it. That's the definition. We'll get into a lot of things with the real world examples that kind of go and follow along that path. No. All right. So landscaping decisions. So one of the, obviously bigger things, on our side of it is your vendor selection. You're dealing with multiple bids, a lot of unclear comparisons. Things aren't always apples to apples. on the design side, when you're looking to, redesign your landscaping, maybe in front of an amenity center or, just at your front sign, you'll have disagreements on what those designs looks like. Plenty of people have, different ideas, different concepts. So it's going to kind of be, how do we get those designs into one place and narrow the decisions down so that everything's kind of the same. And then you're working on, maintenance versus upgrades. So one of the things we see a lot in the landscaping side, especially, regarding irrigation, you may have an older system and you're constantly battling, do we fix the small issue? Do we replace heads? Do we replace this? Or do we do an overhaul of everything and do a big giant upgrade? So you're kind of, working on those decisions and going back and forth for that. And then obviously you get into the seasonal and emergency decisions. I saw everyone here in Florida. Last year was a little off summer where we didn't have a storm, but we're usually all pretty anxious come summertime, thinking of, the big name storms that could come through and how you're going to handle those, emergencies and decisions and keep that going. So, um, there. So impacts on your community when you get into, the decision fatigue. I always make the joke. We all know being on a board is such a high paying job for these people. And, for someone that volunteers, your board members and yourselves deal with, just a lot of things that come on you and that, really gets into that board burnout and the turnover that exists. We constantly see it. You get a board on there for a couple years, they get wore out. Now you have a whole new set. I know that has to be frustrating on the cam side, and hopefully if you can, get that fatigue out of the way, create a little better process, then they'll stay longer. As those boards turn over, it leads to a lot of inconsistency on the property. So every time a new board comes in, you're dealing with a different idea. Someone wants to see, this design different, and you're just constantly dealing with that change, and that really impacts, your community. That also leads to the budget inefficiencies. So as that board changes, again, the ideas go, they're trying to create new budgets to handle their ideas, and they're also dealing with past budgets and maybe not having the money in the system. Someone spent it, in a different spot. So again, as they get burnt out, as the turnover constantly moves around, you're dealing with a bunch of different issues, and then that leads to the resident dissatisfaction, which leads to emails to you, leads to phone calls, and that can also lead to burnout on your end. So we know that all of this kind of ties into, you know, it's all tied together into burnout, and if we can eliminate that, then it'll make everyone's life a little easier. Frameworks for making better decisions. So the good news is there are some things that can be taking place from the CAMs to, make sure that we're there. Simple frameworks that can dramatically improve decision making. One of the most effective ones would be to create a decision matrix model. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this will allow you to create options that are equivalent across the board. So you can, just create a nice thing. I know a lot of the CAMs will do that for you. But you're going to create options based on cost, maybe longevity, aesthetics, the maintenance. This shifts conversations from opinions to more in a structured comparison. So you're seeing exactly what's there. And again, I'll have some examples, a little later on as you're moving for, especially geared toward the landscaping side that I think would help. One other strategy, especially in enhancement sides of it, is coming up with a standardized landscaping plan. The more you can create an image for your community that you want to stick with, the easier it's going to be for you, and it'll help you kind of get those choices down and know that everything is going to be the same from vendor to vendor. And hopefully the whoever your vendor is can help you with that, can create a plan. I know our philosophy with Vertigo is pretty simple. I'm going to help you the best I can. I'm going to give you all the information. If you shop it out to other people, that's fine because, if we're not the right fit for you, then I don't want to be there and you guys don't want us there. So, hopefully whoever's working with you is going to give you the information you need to make everything standardized so that you can make an informed decision because that's really what a true partnership is for. Um, and then if you can limit the options to two or three, that helps so much. Instead of looking at six or seven different proposals, you start creating that matrix model that eliminates people one by one. And then your final choice is, between two to three vendors. And then, that will help you on the budgeting side as well. Every decision you make, I know the landscaping is usually one of the largest line items that you have in your budgets. So when you're trying to create that long-term consistency, there's always that fine line, right, between saving money now versus paying more in the long run. So if you can put those options and ideas and choices together, kind of get that in line with your budget and your strategies, then that will hopefully help you, make informed decisions a little quicker. Your role as CAMs. This is probably one of the most important things. And, coming from, the maintenance side and as a sales rep, we know that the decision is always set for the board and for the board members. And the managers play a critical role in the process of giving them the information to make that informed decision. So you don't make the decisions, but you shaped how decisions are presented to the board. Creating a clear communication is key. Reframing recommendations in a structured way so it makes it easier for the board and eliminates that fatigue. One of the things you can also help with by being organized and giving the board that information is to help with the emotions and the key decisions and keep them productive. We know the boards can kind of get all over the place. So your role as taking all the information from the vendors and hopefully putting it in, a process that allows them to see it clear and concise will help make that decision. I always say a great CAM reduces the complexity instead of adding to it. So I know all of you work hard and try to put everything in the case. So a few case studies, kind of put a few examples together for you guys. Um, one, like you think of an HOA that has, 120 units. Um, you set it out to bid. You have five landscaping vendors. You have the five different proposals. Each can be a little different. If you just left it with that, you're looking at a meeting that regularly exceeds 2 hours and decisions are often postponed. The problem with that is you have too many options created. Analysis leads to paralysis. Board members disagree on the aesthetics. Decisions were delayed for months. In order to kind of condense that timeline and process, one, we can implement that decision matrix. So the cost, maintenance, longevity, appearance. You can try to reduce everything to two to three vendors. And then again, if you had that standardized plant palette, it will help create that. So if you're able to condense all of that, the result's going to be that hopefully you're going to make the decision in one meeting instead of pushing it off to two or three and constantly revisiting it so that you can move forward and keep that. So okay. Um, I have another one like you have a large HOA, the board, is experiencing turnover and long meetings. Usually the problem with that is again, it's inconsistent vendor proposals. Board feels overwhelmed by the details. And if you follow that process of the decision matrix and creating, top two recommendations, again, you will help the board hopefully keep retention because you're making their job easier and it'll increase the confidence in the decisions that they're making across that board. So clarity hopefully will replace the chaos by having an easier process that goes along with it. So the decision matrix, this is one that I talk about a lot, and hopefully it will help a little bit. As a landscape vendor, when we get RFPs from you, a lot of times it can be rather generic. So it's used from community to community instead of trying to be customized to that property. So that can lead to different types of turf on different properties. They need to be cut at different, times of the year, number of frequencies. But when you have one RFP that goes from property to property, it just leads to missed stuff. So, and it allows for interpretation. So if you have a community that has your St. Augustine turf or Bermuda turf and it needs to be cut 42 times a year, you have another community that has Bahia turf that may not be irrigated. That only needs to be cut maybe 30 to 32 times a year. But if you didn't separate that in the proposal, you leave it up to interpretation to the vendor who some know that you don't have to cut the Bahia 42 times, so they're going to price it less and try to get away with it. So you really want to create the RFP built for the community and what's in there, and then build a decision matrix to go with it. A lot of times, again, we see it in community development districts here in Florida, but they'll create a true point system to go across. So it's usually out of 100 points. You have personnel will be 15 points, experience 25 points, understanding the scope of work 30 points, and then price is also at 30 points. One of the things that you can do to help, because price is sometimes all over the place, is if you have, six vendors, you want to throw out the lowest and you want to throw out the highest because, it's always just easier to get that, especially if you use pricing on like a formula. So if you're taking the lowest price and they get the highest points, and then you have a formula to give the rest of the points to the other vendors, then by eliminating someone that may be super lower than everyone else and someone that's super higher, it really can help you with that pricing structure and will help you make a little better decision. The other thing in your RFPs and when you're in your decision making, to help you be more on the apples to apples side, give your vendors the mulch quantity, the palm number of palms that you have. If you have annual flowers, give them the number of flowers that are there. And then if you happen to have it, you want to give them the number of zones for irrigation checks. Those are all quantitative items that will allow you to build that matrix to truly see apples to apples. Um, you know, Regarding mulch, you could get one vendor that looks at it and they're only going to give you, maybe an inch of dusting to redo it. Another vendor could be doing 2 inches and you really don't know. So their cubic yards could be way off. You should, again, if you have a good partnership with your, vendor, they should be able to provide you with all of those numbers. They shouldn't hide it. It shouldn't be a secret. You want to have everyone bidding on 100 cubic yards so you know exactly, the price per yard that you're getting, and there's no difference between the two proposals. Same thing with flowers. Some people will put it at larger spacings. Some will have it at smaller spacings. So that's going to throw off the number. If you can give that, true quantity, then again, you're going to get a per price flower and it'll allow you to really compare them in the matrix. And then again, the zone counts, almost every landscape company is going to have, certain amount of time built per zone that's going to allow them to do their wet checks. So if you give them that, then again, you're going to get a true number instead of just them going out having to guess. Because a lot of times we don't have access to the clocks as someone coming in to do, the proposal. So that will really help you create those side by side comparisons and, not be sitting there wondering why one person is $20,000 higher than the other. It'll give you a way to really look at it and make that comparison. And again, that will help. It'll also allow you when you're getting, it talks about limiting choices. When you're able to have all of that, whether you put it together in an Excel sheet or whether you put it together in just a little presentation, it will really allow you to look at if you have the five, if you have the six vendors, and break that down so you are giving a choice to your board that is not all over the place. It's very concise. These are the people that I think are going to be the best options for you. Here's why, A, B, and C. Here's their pricing, and then they can go from there. So again, trying to condense everything and making it the best is you know, one of the easiest ways to limit that decision fatigue. Hopefully, by moving your options to just the two or three, it will help the board make those decisions faster. They'll be able to get it done in one meeting instead of, kind of two or three. Feel like I'm talking a little quickly today, so Diane may need
Not at
some
all. Not
help.
at all.
All
Nope. We're
right.
with you.
Okay. So, cam script again, this is where you guys kind of come in, have something prepared for your board. Here's how I've developed this for you. It's bringing your value to the table, based on your budget, based on the long-term value. Here are my top two recommendations for you to choose from. One thing you could also do in your communities that we see a lot is they'll create like a landscape committee, and the landscape committee helps narrow down. So it's not always going to the board, but it's going to that committee first. They can do all the evaluations and they can also be a part of giving those two or three recommendations to the board for them to make the final decisions that go. And by doing that, you're just building the confidence with your board. You're creating your value for your management company and yourself, and you're just building that, putting the clause in to make sure that you keep them as a client for as long as possible. Um, all right. I know we have, again, I don't know. I think we're at question and answer time.
Yes. So I'm going to open the chat up so we can just have everyone put their answers into the chat. So if you just want to ask the question and then give it a second, they'll pop the answers into the chat and we'll see if they're paying attention.
Okay, so all right. So question one is what is decision fatigue?
All right, we've got a lot of bees coming in.
Yeah.
You can go to yeah.
Okay.
We went through them pretty quick because these are some smart cams here, you
They
know.
are some smart cams.
They're all
Yeah.
saying B.
All right. Get out of the chat here. Okay. So yes, it's mental exhaustion from repeated decisions.
I
Um,
liked your example of the TV show. I don't know how
yes.
many times I have done that, and it's so dumb. It's like
Yeah.
just walk away, go to sleep, read a book, do something
Do
else. But it's kind of it's
Yeah,
appropriate.
and I mean, it kind of goes to the same. I mean, one of the other examples that I found was even just shopping online with Amazon. You're
Yeah,
looking for a certain product, and next thing you know, there's 100 of them, and you're trying to figure out which one's the best, how you're doing it. So again, it can lead to fatigue and you pushing it off and not even making a decision on that. So,
I like
okay. Question
it.
two is what is the primary cause of decision fatigue in HOAs?
Okay, everybody can see the screen. We have some smart cams. They're all saying B again.
All right. Yeah, that is it. Having too many choices. So, great job. I was trying to think of a couple other. I had some deals here, talking about buying a car. Sometimes there's just too many features, too many options for you to kind of make a decision between the two. So,
Yeah, yeah.
trying to bring that in will help you, hopefully eliminate some of those. Question three is who is most impacted by decision fatigue in associations?
Ooh, let's see. See, we should have put in their cams.
You should, yeah. Now
You
that we're
know,
looking at it, we probably should
yeah,
have. So,
yeah.
yeah,
But second to cams is definitely B. Some people
yeah.
said C. Okay.
Mhm. But yes, it is B. It's going to be your board members. And again, that decision fatigue leads to, turnover. Sometimes you may like that. Maybe you have a board that isn't quite the best that you've worked with and you want to, get some new people in. But most of the time when you develop those relationships with the board members, you want to eliminate that fatigue and hopefully keep them around for a while so you can build plans and move those into the future. Question four, what is the recommended solution to reduce decision fatigue?
All right. What are they doing? What are they saying? What are they saying? Oh, it looks like we've got a lot of B. Did we just decide that B was the way it was going to go for all of them? Is this a cheat
Uh,
sheet?
I, maybe.
Maybe.
All right. Yep, you are correct. Always using structured frameworks can help you with that. One thing I know I did I think I forgot to mention is, especially when you're dealing with enhancements, I think what can help, eliminate or get the choices down is to work with your vendor to create, a 2, a 3, a 4-year plan so that you already know what you have to spend. You already know what you want to do next year as far as the enhancement. You have the design ready. So then next year when it comes along, you're not really fighting over it and you're not having multiple decisions on the different designs. It's already been set. This is what we're doing this year. Here's the budget. Next year, we're working on the amenity center. The year after that, we're working on our entry signs. So again, that will help you, create that framework and hopefully eliminate decision fatigue. Question five. What happens when decisions are inconsistent?
Okay. So it wasn't all B's. Everyone's saying C.
All right. I did good. It is C, confusion and inefficiency. So, question six. What is a key benefit of limiting choices?
Here's B's again. Some said C.
Someone did? Okay. Yeah. Well, if we eliminate choices, we should hopefully make faster decisions.
Yeah.
Well, I know I always do. Seven.
Yes.
What leads to reactive landscaping spending?
Okay, we've got a lot of smart cams here today with us, Billy. They're all saying C.
Yeah, lack of planning. So again, that can, if you don't have a plan for it and someone just comes with you saying this needs to be resodded, this needs to be replanted. You can want to get rid of that and make a decision very quickly, and sometimes it may not be the best for the community because you made that knee-jerk reaction instead of seeing how it would plan out. Over the years. We did just have a community in St. Augustine that has had irrigation issues forever, and they finally went back, saw their budget. They were spending 60 to $70,000 a year on landscaping, irrigation repairs, and they finally had just decided it's time to just put a new system in. So they planned for it. They had the money. And that bill has drastically, come down because they replaced the wires, they replaced the piping that was old, and now they're, even though it was a higher cost, they're having such dramatic savings on the annual budget with what they were spending that it worked out. So that's where, planning can help save you a little money on that end.
Mhm.
Question 8, how can CAMs help guide decisions?
Thank you, everyone who's participating. We are seeing mostly B's, a few C's.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you take the time and you provide structured recommendations, it will definitely help your board members, make their decisions quicker. What improves board consensus?
All B's again.
Yeah. So obviously, the more data that you're given and the easier it is to see it and compare it to, the different proposals and different vendors, then it's going to help you, make those decisions a lot quicker. I believe this is our last one. So what is a long-term benefit of structured decision making?
Okay, who did this?
I don't know
It's,
who's I don't know
I,
who set these up.
I bet it was Lindsay. I'm going to text her, let her
Yeah,
know. You need to
pretty,
lock it up,
pretty
lady. Lock
sure.
it up. All
Yeah.
B's. All B's.
Hey, I think she did it because of my name. Maybe she was doing bees for
Okay, yeah,
Billy.
there we
So,
go. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
It's okay. It's not like these are very serious, you know.
No, no,
Right.
not at
It's just
all.
kind of the formality as we all know. So,
Yeah.
but B's across the board.
All right. That is correct. So I know we wanted to leave
Yeah,
time for some
of
questions. I don't know how
course.
you normally
Yep,
handle
let me
that.
and I'm gonna shut off the chat. So anyone who has questions for Billy while he is with us, highly recommend that you throw it into the Q&A. We do have one question. If you work in Pasco County, do you or any of your partners?
Currently, we are not in Pasco, but we are working our way there.
Okay, if you know anyone in Pasco, guys, or if you're in an area in which Vertigo does not currently provide services for, we highly recommend that you get his contact information. I put it into the chat, his email and their website. It's also right on the screen, so you can take a picture of it, so that you have it. Again, we highly recommend the company. And Billy, we've got someone else asking for a new Tampa area. Um, Again, guys, if you just go to Vertigo and check out their service areas, they're in currently St. John's, Volusia, and Flagler. But Billy may know someone in the industry that he could refer business over to, that he trusts and would put his referral name on. That's how a lot of us do business.
Yep.
We have Jamie saying thank you, appreciate the class. I'm going to go over the credits on how everyone gets everything. So we will let you go so you can get back to business because we know
All
it's a
right.
busy time of year. Wait, we do have
I,
one Q&A coming up. Nope, they said thank you. And yeah, thanks. Congrats on your first webinar
yeah,
Wednesday.
like I said, I think we got out maybe a touch early, but
Yeah,
we'll
that's
get it
okay.
dialed
I
in
think
so it's
I
good.
well, I think cams appreciate that, right? I think
Yeah.
they do because we'll take a break before the next one so that they can do
Okay.
emails and
Good.
all the things they have to do. So
Yeah.
we appreciate you and we'll see you again next month.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day,
Thanks.
everyone.
Thanks, Billy.